So I'm wondering if this has ever happened to you. Let's say you just finished up a great piece of research and maybe it was an in-depth competitive assessment study or a round of taste tests or concept testing, and you know that your methodology was ironclad, your questionnaire flow hit all your key objectives, and in your analysis phase you were able to uncover some really clear and distinct insights that can have a true impact on the direction of your company's marketing strategy. So yeah, you're on cloud nine. You're really psyched to share this info out and maybe even get some recognition. So you line up your meeting, you present your results, and it ends up being a flop. People are leaving the meeting early. No one asks questions at the end. And it's as if all that hard work was for nothing. So definitely not a great feeling. So then when you start to break it down and you look through the deck in more detail and you talk to people who maybe attended that you can trust will tell you the truth to try to find out what happened, and you figure out that it just wasn't engaging at all. Maybe you had way too many numbers, or maybe there were just way too many pages. Whatever the case, presenting data effectively to drive action is a necessary skill that one needs to have in a consumer insights role. So I'm here to give you a few pointers that can hopefully help you avoid that unpleasant situation. So for starters, a presentation deck may not always be the best option. I know in this day and age with all the Zoom calls we have, you may not have a lot of options. So if that's the case, all right, well, we need to find some ways to spice up your deck. Ways to do that. You can use colors. So use colors to make those critical pieces of your charts pop and keep all the unimportant information in gray. Also, try to present one idea per slide so you don't overwhelm your audience, and use visuals to bring your data points to life. So for instance, instead of using those boring looking bullet points, use graphics in place of them. And as long as they align to what your associated comment is, it's going to look a lot better on the page. And if you've got video of your consumers, use it. This lets the consumer tell the story for you by talking about their thoughts, their experiences, their journey. And it's also a nice benefit for you because while you play the video, it gives you a little break to collect your thoughts before you jump back into presenting. End of the day, we need to align with how humans process data. We like to learn visually. Now, I know I'm here saying having too many numbers is bad, but I'm about to throw some stats at you. We as humans process visuals 60,000 times faster than text, 60,000 times. And 90% of the information absorbed by the brain is visual. And according to Forbes, almost 60% of execs prefer video. And then finally, stories are 22 times more memorable than stats. So the numbers don't lie. You can have a big impact on engagement levels to make sure that you add. So make sure you add some visuals and video into your presentations to make people sit up and take notice. Other ideas: avoid including too much text on your slides. And I'm begging you, do not read your headlines. I once watched somebody not only read the headlines, but they had a laser pointer and they were bouncing it from word to word as they talked. So they basically had a room full of people with their heads bobbing back and forth like they were watching a US Open tennis match. Don't do that. You also want to engage your audience. So the longer that they sit there and only listen to you talk, the better the chance that you could start losing interest. So ask them questions throughout the presentation, even have a colleague of yours throw you some softball questions just to get things started. The key is to get them involved in the conversation. And it's also about storytelling. So when you're presenting, break down your presentation like you would a story. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? So the beginning is why we're here and the problem we're trying to solve for. The middle is, well, what do we do? So those are the details of the project and all the findings. And the end, and this is the most important part, is the solution. I've seen so many presentations that never have an ending. They never have that solution. And that's what people are waiting for. So how did this research solve a problem? And what decisions can we make from it? How do you recommend they take action? That right there can drive impact. So structure your deck in a storytelling fashion when you do that next time. Now, if you want to get really dynamic and out of the box when you're presenting, I've got a couple ideas for you too. So beyond PowerPoints, in a past role, we had breakout rooms where we recreated a day in the life of our key consumers. So stakeholders were able to walk through those environments as if they were there firsthand. So think about that, how impactful it can be when you're trying to understand your core user and you walk through a room and you see a laundry basket overflowing with clothes and fast food packaging strewn about on a coffee table and a chalkboard to-do list that has school and sports and doctor's appointments written down covering every single minute of the day. You start to get a really clear picture of the stresses that that family is going through. And that's when you can start to relate to them. You're essentially starting to humanize the data. Another way, do a podcast. So take your findings, bring on a guest. Maybe it's somebody from the cross-functional team who was involved in the project. It could be somebody from marketing or R&D, and discuss the findings with them. So you could even pepper in some video from respondents too, again, to break things up. But think about it. If you have the option of sitting through a 1 hour PowerPoint presentation full of numbers where you start to question whether you need to visit that optometrist again, or seeing a 15-minute live stream podcast of two of your colleagues talking through the latest results from a big study, which one are you going to choose? I think you know which one's going to be more interesting, and you're going to attend that one. So those are my thoughts. Those are my recommendations. I hope that presentation goes well for you, and you do find that it does drive impact within your company. Last but not least, life hack of the day. So this is an interesting one that I've tried before, and it actually does work. So I like to eat eggs. I eat eggs all the time. I eat them in all types of different ways. And sometimes I hard boil them. But when I hard boil them, I always have a tough time getting the shell off without it breaking into a million pieces. So what I've found is that if you add 1 teaspoon of baking soda when you're boiling them, it'll make the shell come off effortlessly. And why it does that is the alkaline baking soda helps increase the pH of the egg white, which makes it less acidic. And that in turn loosens the bond between the egg and the shell. So give it a shot next time and see how it goes. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.